In this video, I will be talking about how menstrual blood is described in the Bible. I chose this topic because I went to Catholic school, so I've read the Bible more than I would like to. And so I've seen a little bit of the language that's used around women, so I want to take a little bit of a further look into this specific topic for this class because it gave me the opportunity. I want to look at how blood is described between menstrual blood and men's blood and how the two compare. In my research, I've found that how menstrual blood is described in the Bible is inherently sexist, especially compared to how other blood, such as men's blood, is described. So I want to start off by giving a few examples of how menstrual blood and menstruation is described in the Bible before I start ranting about it. So here are a few examples. Leviticus 20 verse 18 says, "If a man lies with a woman during her menstrual period and uncovers her nakedness, he has made naked her fountain, and she has uncovered the fountain of her blood. Both of them shall be cut off from among their people." Leviticus 18 verse 19 says, "You shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness while she is in her menstrual uncleanliness." Leviticus 15 verses 19 to 24 says, "When a woman has a discharge and the discharge in her body is blood, she shall be in her menstrual impurity for 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until the evening. And everything on which she lies during her menstrual impurity shall be unclean. Everything also on which she sits shall be unclean. And whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever touches anything on which she sits shall wash his clothes, bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. Whether it is the bed or anything on which she sits, when he touches it, she shall be unclean until the evening." That said he, but I'm not rereading it. Okay, Leviticus 15 verse 24 says, "And if any man lies with her, and her menstrual impurity comes upon him, he shall be unclean for 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean." So, where did these ideas of menstrual blood being so unsanitary come from in the first place? The idea of menstrual blood being a dirty thing and menstruating people being dirty while they bleed, by extension, goes as far back as the story of Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. This story claims that menstruation is a punishment for everyone with uteruses because Eve disobeyed God and her husband. The blood shed during menstruation is a physical manifestation of how disgusting Eve is for disobeying the men. In the English Standard Version of the Bible, God's words to Eve are, "I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be contrary to your husband, but he shall rule over you." That is in Genesis 3, and it is verse 16. I think this passage pretty clearly illustrates how the association between menstrual blood and dirtiness was formed in Christianity, through the language in their sacred text. Just a few paragraphs after the last quote I read, Eve is described as the mother of all living things, which I think means that I can compare her blood to the blood of Christ, which Christians clearly think is clean because they drink it as a ritual. Anyway, I understand that Eve and Christ are not viewed as equals in Christianity, so it may not be fair to compare how their blood is viewed. However, to me as an outsider just looking at what the Bible says, a mother of all living things definitely trumps a guy who inspired the creation of a new religion. Without Christ, there would be no Christianity. But without Eve, there would be no humanity or any other living things. Her blood is still viewed as dirty, though. Contrasting with this, we have the Christian view of a man's blood. And yes, the man I'm going to talk about is Jesus. But to me, as an outsider from the religion, just reading the Bible as a text, Eve plays a much larger role in shaping the world to be what it has become than Jesus does. The Christian ritual Eucharist tells us that the blood of Christ is viewed as very clean and not at all unsightly, even divine. Christians symbolically drink it at Mass and are not told to feel dirty for it. But the same Holy Bible says that one can become unclean just by touching a woman who is menstruating. I don't really know how to tie this up into a nice little conclusion with a little bow, but the conclusion that I've come to is that the wording in the Bible really has a big impact on how different things are viewed, in this case, blood. And these views, they go beyond just describing little things like blood, because in this case, blood means more than just a little bodily fluid. It means sexism and how people are treated.